Oh, I guess I should share my screen too, huh? All right. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I just turned on the recording. I am sharing my screen now. All right. And as background, I want to actually start by showing you guys a game that I built, which is sort of the inspiration for this project. Okay. This game is Battlestar Galactica. Okay. Now, I don't recommend the TV series. The actual concept behind the TV series is brilliant, and I've heard that the TV, like the series itself, is actually pretty remarkable. But the moral content may not be there for everybody, so I certainly don't recommend it for teenage boys. um, but with that said, the game is off the hook. It's absolutely amazing. And that's really kind of what gave me the idea of building a game board. Because I wanted to be able to play this game, but it takes so long to play. You have to get 6 people together for pretty much a whole afternoon, and that's not easy to do. And when I say a whole afternoon, I mean literally like 6 hours, or so. That's just not easy to do. So being able to play it online, asynchronously, where there's a moderator that keeps track of the board, is kind of a nice thing. And so I built this game with the permission of Fantasy Flight, which is the game makers, and I just really kind of hacked it together. This right here was my very first Grails project, and Grails is the web application framework that we use at SharpTop. So I used it. I was kind of doing 2 things. It was my way to learn this new technology, and so it seemed, and it kept me enthralled for like 6 months. I mean, I was feeling guilty sometimes because I was spending more time working on this than I should have been paying attention to my family. So that's my goal with you guys as far as teaching, is that we'll be able to build a game, and eventually, hopefully, a game that you really like, that you're excited to work on, that'll keep you moving forward. So if you're ever interested in looking at the source code, I think I open sourced this. If not, I can definitely open the repository up for you guys to take a look at. But this is kind of a ways down the road. We're going to start with checkers. So, and I'm going to work in WebStorm, which I highly recommend. It is not free like Atom or Visual Studio Code or one of those. It's like $6 a month, but it's totally worth $6 a month, at least in my opinion. So I just created a new project, aptly called Checkers, and we're going to build the board today. So we'll create a new HTML file, and we'll call it board.html. All right, and we'll call this game board. All right, so you got your head and your body tag. Now the first thing we need is the actual grid, right? And who knows what the dimensions of a checkerboard are?
8 by 8.
There you go, 8 by 8. Same with a chessboard. All right, so there's a couple of ways we could actually lay this out. We could lay it out with divs, or we can lay it out with a table. Okay. Tables are the way we used to do things. Tables have rows. It's generally considered bad practice to lay things out with tables unless it's an actual table, like like data output or something like that. Okay, it works great for that. Okay, but if you're trying to lay out something that's graphical, you shouldn't be using a table. So we're going to use divs. All right, so in our body section, we're going to first create a div, and we will call, and it's good to give your things IDs. So we're going to call this div board container. All right, that's just going to be the whole board. All right, and man, it'd be fun to use Bootstrap for this, but I won't, because I'm a nice guy. But it would actually make this in some ways easier. All right, so we need 8 rows and we need 8 columns. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and build out just a single column or a single row first. So I'll call this I'll give this an ID of row 1, and I'll give it a column, or not a column, a class of row. All right. One thing that's actually kind of helpful, well, no, I won't get into that. That's a little more advanced. All right, so this is our row, and I need to give it some sort of styling. Style, I'll just give it one border, one pixel solid black. All right. So then we'll put something inside of here, like, what should we put inside here? Come on, guys, what should we put? Bacon. All right. So here's the other nice thing about WebStorm. It serves the content up really nicely, and I get a little cheat sheet. Okay, so there we go. We have a row. It's got bacon in it. Yay! Okay. No, but that would be fun. All right. So I'm going to expand my row here, and I'm going to add another div in here that's going to be have a class of or an ID, and I'll call this cell 11. Okay, and I'll have a class of cell. All right, and I'll put bacon in there, and I will duplicate that a few times. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one more is 8. And I should change these. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7. Now notice that it's that WebStorm is telling me, I'm a bad person for having two elements with the same ID. IDs are supposed to be unique, but notice it doesn't care that the class is the same, and that's kind of makes sense, right? None of us should have the same ID, but we're all of class person, right? Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and save that and take a look at what we got running over here. All right, well, that's not exactly what we're looking for, right? Okay, but we do have 8 things in there. All right, and the reason for that is that these that divs are naturally have a display of type block, which means they take up the whole width of whatever they're inside of, okay? And they push whatever else is there below them. So now let's go ahead up here in the head, because it's easier than duplicating the style over and over again. We're going to put a little style block. Later on, we'll move this out to an external CSS file. But we're going to say, hey, anything with the class of cell is going to have a border of 1 pixel, 1 pixel solid blue. All right, so we'll save that. Let's go back over here and take a peek at what we got here, and we'll see. All right, so we can see they're all taking up the whole space, okay? All right, but we don't want that. So we're going to put display inline. Refresh that. Boom. There we go. All right. There's several other different kinds. There's display inline, display block, display inline block, blah, blah. Okay, we're not going to go into that. And there's also display, here's my favorite, none. And we refresh that, and we have a really skinny row. Hey, don't you wish you guys could do weight loss like that? After Christmas? Yeah, after Christmas, I could definitely use a display none. But we're going to do inline because that makes most sense. All right. And let's go back over here and make sure we got. All right. Now, yeah, I'm going to show you guys something. Flex box Froggy that I recommend you guys do. Okay, good old Flexbox Froggy. It's pretty awesome. And it's now I could lay this out by giving each of these, because obviously I don't want my game board to look this way, right? I would like them to be evenly spaced. Okay, and a relatively easy way to do that would be to say width. What's 100 divided by 12 by 8? I gave you the answer.
12.5.
12.5%. Right? So I could say the width is 12.5%. Refresh this. And I get nothing. Wah, wah, wah. Not sure why that is. Width equals 12.5. Yeah. That should. Okay, not sure why you are doing that. Okay, that gives me what I want, but well, sort of what I want, but I want them to be, oh, I think I know what I want. Oops. There we go. Inline block. Okay, now you'll notice, and this is actually a good example of why layouts can be so maybe frustrating. Okay, I just divided 100 up by 8. It divides perfectly into 12.5, which is correct. Okay, and yet I've got one cell wrapping around to the next thing, the next row, which would be a really confusing checkerboard, right? And the reason is, actually, interestingly enough, the border. And probably the border of this guy also. Get rid of this. And I lied to you. Well, it is part of that. There must be some padding or something else in there as well. But that's the problem with trying to do layouts kind of manually, is that you end up with these weirdisms, right? So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either make decisions about, I want this board to be absolutely this size. Okay, that's maybe the simplest way to do it. Or you could use something like flex. Okay, for simplicity's sake, I'll do the simple thing, and we'll do absolute sizes, and then we'll move to flex. But I'll just give you a quick preview of that. And like I was getting ready to show you Flexbox Froggy, right? Flexbox Froggy is a fun, like, it gives you these little challenges, and your job is to move the frog onto the lily pad. But you have to move him onto the lily pad using Flexbox. Okay, and so it's like he's an element. The froggy is an element. And you're trying to move him to the right place on the within this bigger element. So anyway, it is a fun game to play. You should totally do it, and it'll teach you about Flexbox and justifying the content, etc., etc. So then, so I will do justify content, and I'll do space evenly, and I will save it. I'll go back over here, and I'll take a look at this. And I did it wrong somehow. Because probably because they're divs. But oh, that's because I did it on the cell. Dot row. So I have to tell the row space the things inside of you evenly is how Flexbox works. So you're doing the things you want to justify, you have to go a level above that, which makes sense. If I'm justifying the content of a page, or like when I'm like typing up a paper, I'm not changing the a specific word, right? I'm changing the whole paragraph. Like this is how I want it to be laid out. So anyway, there you go. That easy, and I've got something that's perfectly laid out. And not only that, but if I change the size of the page, right, you can look, if it was on a phone, you can see it's still perfectly laid out, okay? So there's Flexbox, pretty handy, okay? But it is more complex than doing something as simple as border 1 pixel width. We'll say we want them to be, say, 50 pixels. No, 100 pixels. 100 pixels, and because we want their height to be 100 pixels as well. All right. Now let's go back over here. Look at this. Oh, I forgot to make them inline. Display inline block. All right. Now I can change the size of my game board itself, right? The actual, and I will make this the row have a width of how big does it need to be?
Was it 8 by 8?
Mm-hmm.
8 by 8, yeah.
So how big?
800 by 800.
Okay. 800 by 800. I did this on purpose because that's not going to work. Why doesn't that work?
Because the borders.
The borders.
So it has to be.
Yep. The what's inside of this this div is 800 by 800, and the black border is on the outside, right? Inside of these blue divs, the cell divs, is 100 pixels. The outside, the border is not included within that. So each one of these, how wide is each one of these blocks?
1 pixels.
Huh?
800 and then plus 1.
Nope.
102.
102, because there's a border on either side, right? And they're all 102 pixels tall. But if you look, you can notice there's actually some padding between these, and that is some styling that the browser is actually applying to these divs. Okay, so that's another thing you have to be aware of, is that your browsers will actually add some styling to your divs. There's things called normalize.css that will actually strip all that out, but we're not going to fiddle with that today. We'll just work around it, and because we can say padding, sorry, not padding, margin. I said padding a minute ago, and I meant margin. Margin 0 pixels. So you'll notice these should squeeze together, and they don't. Let's do a width of, for right now, 816 pixels. Okay, it's still not quite big enough because of this. It does appear I've got like a couple pixel margin in there, and I'm not sure how to get rid of that right off the top. Really don't know why that. And the inspector. It's awesome. You should always use it. So this does say it has a margin of 0 pixels, but it really appears there's a margin in between there.
Do you not know how to fix the padding?
So, what's that?
You don't know how you can fix the padding.
How's that?
You can make, after the first one, like bake into, you can make it float left and it'll fix it.
You could float them all. That's true. You could do that.
Do it for each individual one.
Yep, and just stack them all up there. And if I look at this row, now one of the things you can do with the notice how I'm gradually increasing the
Yeah.
and there we go. So 843 is how much I need. Now that's if that's assuming that I'm going to have margins that are like this, which to be honest, those margins are fine. I think I want to maybe actually control my margins, and I actually do kind of like the idea of having a margin in there, but we're going to have filled in spaces, right? So, and we'll have to get, we'll have to do black and white, but we'll get to that in a minute, right? So, we've got class. What are the corner? I guess it really doesn't matter if black's up top or black's on the bottom. So we'll start with white, black, now there are easier ways to do this using parity and things like that, but I am going to keep it simple for right now. All right, now I'll add a style up here, dot black, background, color, black.
I thought you were gonna make it purple.
I know.
Wait,
I
is
never
it
cease to
checkerboard,
amaze.
like, black and red.
Background color,
Checkerboard.
Wait.
Well, yeah, but chessboard's black and white.
Oh, we did
About the
checkers.
same.
oh yeah, we are doing checkers, but our checkerboards are black and red, aren't they?
Sometimes.
All right,
Yeah.
Sometimes, but then you roll to play checkers.
Never played No checkerboard then.
replace white with red. All right, there we go. And let's maybe not use, I think there's a brick red. Ooh, that's ugly. Like really ugly. Dark red. We'll go with dark red. All right, let's take a look at what we got. All right. Oh, that's right. We changed that on here, but we didn't change it. So we need something like 840 pixels. All right. And to be really honest, it really doesn't. This board, the game board itself, the width of it doesn't really matter, and the height of it also doesn't really matter, because if we turn the border off, right, we just end up with game board, right? Now it'd be nice to have a border around the whole thing, but we'll figure that out later, okay? To make it work. All right, and let's get rid of this border of solid blue. We don't care about that right now. All right. Cool beans. And we probably don't need words in there, huh? All right, we got all the words out. Now, let's do this 8 more times.
Yay.
Actually, it won't be that hard.
Copy and paste.
Well, not exactly, right? So,
Try to alternate.
this is going to be row 2, cell 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7, 2, 8. And this will actually be cell 2, 1. Because we do need to change the parity on these, and which means I've got all of these messed up. 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7, 2, 8. All right. Now let's go take a look at that. Got a second row? We do.
Yay.
All right.
And alternate.
Now, I'm not going to fiddle too much with the IDs for a minute. Let's move this to the right side. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 rows. All right, pretty good?
Yes.
So we got a board, a checkerboard. All right, and then we need some pieces, right? Need to fix all these IDs, but notice the HTML doesn't really care. Okay, so we will probably care about that later. Okay, but you guys don't need to watch me go through and fix all of those. Besides, I'll probably make John do it anyway.
Right.
All right, so now we need to put pieces on the board, right? And those need to be different because we need to be able to click on those pieces, okay? So we need them to be red and black, and we also need them to kind of probably look a little bit different it's from the background. Like we don't just want to see a black circle on the red, or a red, or you wouldn't be able to see anything on the black. So we're probably thinking like dark gray and like a slightly lighter color of red. Okay, so we can kind of fiddle with those colors and stuff like that to get those how we want them. But let's go ahead and put and add some cells in here, or some pieces in here, and you just need them in the first 2 rows. We need to have red pieces, right? So
It's the first 3 rows.
the first 2 rows.
3 rows.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
So
It's 3 rows of checkers.
it is.
He says 2 rows in the middle and then 3 rows.
Is it really?
Yeah.
You're a liar.
No, I'm not.
All right. All
Really?
right.
I thought it was the other way around.
She's right. Gosh, doggone it! I hate it when Amy's right. Of all people. All right. So this will be. This will have a class of red piece. I before E, except after C. Well, fine.
It's big.
But that's if you're using the American rules. I was using the Scandinavian rules. Totally different. Scandinavian. All right, so you got a red piece here. And it is going to have, oh, actually, it's going to have a, this is going to be a little bit, piece and red piece. All right. And maybe I should call it piece and a checker. That's a better name for it. All right. All right, so a checker is going to have a background, well, a red checker specifically is going to have a background color. For now, we'll just use ugly bright red. We'll make that better later. And it's going to have a height of probably what, like 80 pixels, and a width of 80 pixels. Let's go take a look at what that looks like. Okay, does that look good?
It's on the wrong colors.
It's on the wrong color?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pieces
it's
go on the
supposed to
bottom.
be
What?
They go on the bottom
Gosh,
squares.
guys.
How you gonna
Doggone it. So picky. All about the rules
Play
and
the
stuff.
game.
All right. There we go. That looks like a good piece, huh? Little ugly. Okay, so let's make it not quite so ugly. Okay, so it has a. I'm assuming we probably don't want all our pieces sitting in the top left corner, right? Okay, and we probably want them to be circular. Just throwing that out there. Okay, which is one of the reasons why I added this checker, because some of the styles for black checkers and red checkers are going to be the same. Like, we want them to be a circle, and we don't want them to be up in the top left-hand corner. Okay, so if we give it a margin of, and it goes top, right, bottom, left. So a top margin of, say, 10 pixels. And a right margin of 10 pixels. Actually, we'll just give it a margin of 10 pixels to start with. See if that works the way we want it. Looks pretty good? All right. So, and then let's give it a border radius of 50%. And then we get circle. So that's what border radius does. I'll show you something that's maybe a little bit, give you a better idea. Say a 10% border radius. So that's how you do like the little rounded squares or those button, a button-looking thing would be like that. 10%, 20%. You get all the way up to 50%, and the border radius is going to be a perfect circle. So 50% border radius gives us a nice circle. And that red isn't quite so terrible. And to be honest, it could just be the other red. It could be that dark red. Let's see what that looks like. It's a little too dark. We'll find something in the middle later. But we'll probably have to come up with an actual hex code for that. All right, so we need more red checkers, right? So we will do this, and we'll do that on all the black squares. Watch this. All right. Oh, this is probably going to be not exactly what we were expecting. But it worked.
Yeah.
I think I went a little overboard there.
What, how many did you?
My search and replace worked flawlessly.
Yeah. It looks like red won that game.
But we just need
Go real world.
So that's row 1, row 2. So we need 3 rows of red. And then we're done.
I was supposed to need a color to try for the piece.
Oh, fun. Let's see if we got 3 rows of red. There we go. Cool. And what color did you send me? That color. Which actually has a name. Pretty much every hex color I've ever seen has an actual name.
Yeah, it's actually crimson.
Crimson. Ah. Dark red. No. I want the checker. Red checker. Oops. I just left the meeting. Wrong one. I'll refresh this while I'm loading the meeting back up. And resharing my screen. Don't refresh. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so now we need black pieces, which are going to be quite similar, but black-ish. Not all the way black, or we won't be able to see them.
It's an invisible piece.
Blackish. All right. Here, and we need them on the black cells. So that is going to have a class of black checker. And here. Now, we don't want to repeat ourselves, okay? One thing I have told you guys before is not to repeat yourself. This should work. Let's go back over there and it's going to come up red, and we'll change the color in a minute. Okay, but it's showing right. But notice I've repeated myself. Let's go with maybe a dark gray to start with. Go away, you silly things. All right. So you notice I've repeated the height and the width here and here, which means that if I wasn't being, I could like mess that up and maybe have, you know, pieces that are, you know, black pieces that are suddenly smaller, right? Well, it's just kind of stupid, right? So you don't ever want to repeat yourself if you don't have to, okay? So what would be a better way for me to do this?
Put it on the bigger checkers.
Yeah, add these styles to the checker, because every checker should have the same size. Otherwise, somebody might have checker envy. There we go. And I probably want a darker gray than that, but let's go with gray is really easy to do. It's like maybe 333. Oh, I need a pound sign in front of that. So, and then we'll go add some more. It's black checker. Yep. So I want to add it. Find that. Place that with this. And I will replace. And save work. Come over here, refresh the page. All right. Wait for it. I think I might have made a mistake
Oops.
in there somewhere. Undo. I'm telling you guys, undo is your best friend. All right. So let's try this again. This is what I want for these guys to look like. And remember I said you don't want to repeat yourself? Well, this is an example of me breaking the rules. So, let me go over here and just see if that one shows up the way it's supposed to. All right, cool. That looks better. And there are ways that we can do this where we wouldn't be repeating ourselves. Like, it would actually be pretty good to create this, actually lay the board out itself just with JavaScript, you know. But, or even better on the server side. But we'll do that. We'll talk about that later. So there we go. We have a checkerboard and we have pieces on it. All right.
Yay.
And pretty good timing, right? 45 minutes. So we will later on work on what it takes to click on a checker piece and move it to a different place on the board. You can kind of work on other like your colors, your really, like, this is your board, okay? I know Luke loves Marvel, right? Each checker piece could be a different Marvel character. You can have heroes on one side, and you can have villains on the other side. Who knows, right? And you could even put, if you guys wanted to, style-wise, you could put an image behind the board and use change the opacity of the actual pieces, or the squares, the cells, so that you could see through the black or the red and black cells. Or at that point you might want to go with like white and black, but so you could see through them and you can kind of see, some scene behind it, I'm thinking of like a Marvel scene, you could have like some battleground behind it, like Segovia, right? And you've got a bunch of Ultrons on the other side. Be pretty sweet. Okay, but hey, this is your thing, right? Make it fun. But that's your assignment to get, as far as getting caught up. Get this built by the next class period. And then what I'd like you to try to do, I would like you to try to move one piece from one place to another. Okay? That is going to be a bit of an effort, but you can actually just give it a try. Okay?
Something.
Yep.
I actually did it with drag and drop, but I had one error when I would have it so I would move one of the top ones. It would and then I grab another. Let's just say it's the top bottom right one or something like that, and then I move that one.
Mm-hmm.
It would actually move the one that I placed after that. I have no clue how to fix that.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure that out. Yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
And once you figure out how it works, you could actually just play that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like driving a car with strings tied to the steering wheel instead of actually holding the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's doable. All right. Well, guys, have a great week. I'll see you guys on Thursday with some checkerboards. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Have a good day.
See ya.